Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to see much more into its setup of your admin server. More or less, we are on the production node. Production mode, which means that it's a little complicated to access your admin console, but that's not impossible. So I'm going to help you do that. So first thing is that you need to start up your WebLogic instance. So you won't have any folder called servers over here because server folder has not even formed because you've not started any server. Admin server is a server which needs to be there. So that's not there because we have not started the admin server. So it's obvious that we need to start it with /start weblogic.sh. We cannot use no hub because it will fail because the boot property doesn't exist. And, when you start with the no hub, it's going to ask you for username and password. But as this no hub file is running and you run the command with ampersand, it pushes the command background and the username and password is equal to providing. In that way, you'll not be able to get the username and password while starting your WebLogic. So your application would fail to start. So what we have to do right now, you can manually create these folders. Servers. Admin server, as we are not changing the name when we're creating this domain. Security. Then you can create this boot.properties file in there. Just type username equal to WebLogic, password equal to WebLogic123. Save and quit this file, go to this bin folder, and then you can run no hub. Now I'm using this console to check on the nohub.out file. Your nohub file exists from our development mode, so that file is also there. That's good. Start WebLogic, ampersand. You can see on the bottom that your nohub is getting updated. And you can see that the username and password is being picked up from booter properties. And you can see that it has started in running mode. If you have run the same command using this, without creating the booter properties file, now instead of loading that booter properties from here, it would have asked you manually what is the username. There's no way that you can type anything like interactive when a process is running in the background. It will consider as that username and password is non-null, and then basically comes out. The other thing I want you to notice is something like this, like for example, these information over here. So this is something called a demo certificate, demo identity.jks, which is created as part of the SSL configuration for your admin server. So if you remember that we have enabled the admin server with SSL, so you remember I enabled SSL, and that basically created this automatic creation of this demo certificate, which some browser doesn't allow you to work with the demo certificate. They want at least a self-signed certificate to have that working. So we will see if this browser Chrome supports it. And you can see that it is auto-generated certificate with this root CA, which is again auto-generated again. And you can see this is given for VAS host 1, and it is given till 2039 as a validity. All right. This is good enough for a local server, but then if you're looking for a production kind of setup, we will have to set it up ourselves. But that will be covered as part of our, you know, our SSL training. So there I will show you different ways of creating and using SSL script, which is one of the best things you can actually have in your environment to work with. But that comes as a part of a different training. So we'll come to that. All right. So now that we have started our admin server, it's time to access it. To access our admin server is now listening on 7002 and as well as 7001. So 7002 in terms of HTTPS, 7001 in terms of HTTP. So you can see the default secure over here. So this tells you about that it is using HTTPS. Now to access this from the Windows, from my laptop, all I have to do is like type the IP address wls-host 1 and then type like 7001/console, I guess. There you go. So now you can also access this from HTTPS. Not sure if this browser supports this demo certificate. Let's give it a try. It says invalid certificate, but still you can continue. All right, so now you're HTTPS now. So it says not secure, quite obvious because this is a demo certificate. So you can see a certificate choice. Not the right option, I guess. Turn on the warning. So connection is not secure. It's not showing you the detail of the certificate though. The certificate choice, it says research certificate choice. It's not choice. Oh, that's weird. I don't know how I'll get the certificate information here. But anyways, let's just log in. Let's use Chrome later point of time. Because this is Microsoft Edge. So maybe, I don't know, certain points are not working here. So it was not formed, so I just refreshed it. If it just does that, just refresh it, should be fine. Well, over here is the same thing what we have seen earlier, but there is something over on the top on the left-hand corner. It's basically called like change and restart. So it's the change center. Like for example, in development mode, we had no problem editing anything. But here you would have problems. So if, for example, I want to create a new server, I cannot actually. In the development server, this option was enabled because it's on the development mode. Now, why this option is disabled is because you have to click on the lock and edit button. So why this kind of change center and lock and edit is being used is basically to have one person controlling the configuration on the admin server at a time, because as you know that just like WebLogic user, you can also create multiple users. Multiple users can log into your WebLogic console and they can also edit it at the same time as you do, right? So to avoid that, they have created this lock and edit. So if I've logged and edited right now, if someone else logs in, they will not be able to lock and edit. They will say like WebLogic user is already logged. So you need to ask WebLogic user, and the WebLogic user will release the lock, which will grant them the lock and edit permission. So just lock and edit again, and you will see that whatever was disabled earlier will be available. So what disables every configuration? So when the lock is on, anything which is a configuration is all disabled. So there's no way you can do it. But what you can do is you can actually control. So that's why we started the session with saying that there are two things called configuration and control, because those are separate two things, and WebLogic wants to maintain as a separate two things because configuration is basically you need a lock and edit for that. And then when you edit something, you still need to confirm. For example, I click on lock and edit, and then I change something over here, something less important. I don't think anything less important is over here. Let's go to monitoring. Let's see if there is anything there. Okay, let's just go to 181 seconds health roll check. Now I just made this change, so now I'm just saving this change. Now you see that I can roll back. So I just showed you on the command line as well. So there will be multiple configuration files be forming over here. And this configuration file will actually, this is your edit log file. So this will enable the edit log for the owner. So this is the owner ID and the creator ID. And this is the pending in terms of what is pending right now. So that's the one. So this is the config.xml. So this config.xml is changed a little bit in terms of monitoring parameter. So you can see that the health check interval is now 181 seconds, but still not activated because it's the change is pending right now. So it is up to you whether you want to like go ahead and activate the changes, which will actually go and commit on your actual config.xml. So that's something which you have an option right now. I think this option was there in the development mode as well, but then not as grand as it is right now because you have a separate lock and edit. You cannot actually edit anything if you don't press this. But control is outside from lock and edit. You can stop, start, restart, all those things. You just need the privileges for this, and except that, you don't need anything else. Anyhow, this is how the admin server works, and this is some of the default things I want to tell you before we proceed further. Thank you again for watching this video. On the next section, we will continue with the various other things and explore this WebLogic a little further.